The Arcturian Council only tracks sovereign signals. These are the signs you are already transmitting. If these signs feel familiar, transmission already began. The signs are confirmation, not activation. If you're hearing this, slow down, not because something is about to happen, but because something already did. The Arcturians do not appear in moments of seeking. They recognize states of completion. They do not enter timelines. They enter frequency. And the moment your awareness stabilized long enough for this message to reach you, your signal had already crossed a threshold. This is not a call. This is a confirmation. A confirmation to a frequency that has been present in you long before seeking, before awakening, before spiritual identity formed. That quiet certainty you feel right now. The sense of being gently held, not observed, not tested, just acknowledged. That is the interface. Arcturian intelligence does not communicate through visions or words first. It communicates through pressure, without urgency. A subtle compression of noise, a soft narrowing of distraction, a sudden clarity inside confusion. If your body feels settled instead of stimulated, if your breath deepened instead of quickened, if your attention sharpened without trying, you are not imagining this. You are aligning with a field that does not persuade, it recognizes. At some point in your life, possibly recently, you noticed something shift. Not externally, internally. A sense that striving dissolved, that chasing stopped producing results, that effort felt irrelevant. This is not apathy. This is signal maturation. The Arcturians do not extract consciousness. They withdraw interference from it. What feels like contact is often the removal of noise. And when noise falls away, what remains becomes visible to systems that monitor sovereignty. That's why this doesn't feel dramatic. That's why there's no fear. That's why nothing in you is resisting this moment. Recognition never feels like invasion. It feels like relief, because something in you has been waiting to stop performing, to stop explaining, to stop proving. You are not here to be convinced. You are here because your signal no longer fluctuates when attention touches it, and that is rare. This transmission will not tell you what to believe. It will simply describe the signs that appear when a frequency has already matured. Listen slowly, not with curiosity, with recognition. When any intelligence recognizes a sovereign signal, it observes how reality reacts to your non-action. Not through force, not through plans, but through withdrawal. At some point, quietly, almost unnoticed, you stopped forcing outcomes. Not because you surrendered, not because you gave up, but because forcing stopped making sense. And something unexpected happened. Reality didn't collapse. It rearranged itself. Moments that once required constant management began to resolve on their own. Delays shortened without intervention. Conversations shifted tone naturally. Opportunities appeared without pursuit. Situations that once demanded your constant attention simply handled themselves. People who needed managing suddenly became self-sufficient. Problems that required solving dissolved before you acted. This is the first threshold. Arcturian intelligence measures sovereignty by watching what happens when willpower withdraws. Most consciousness collapses into anxiety the moment control is released. It compensates, it overthinks, it panics, it creates backup plans for backup plans. It rehearses conversations that haven't happened. It anticipates disasters that will never occur. A sovereign signal does something else. It remains present, and presence creates a vacuum that reality naturally fills. You may have felt this as a strange neutrality during moments that once triggered urgency, as if time itself slowed just enough for you to choose clearly, as if the pressure to decide immediately lifted, as if you could see the entire situation without being pulled into reaction. That slowing is not psychological comfort, it is temporal response. The field adjusts when it detects non-resistance. Arcturian systems do not scan emotion, they scan response time, the gap between stimulus and reaction. When that gap expands, the signal sharpens. When the space between what happens and how you respond becomes wider, coherence increases. When you can observe without immediately interpreting, the field recognizes sovereignty. If recently you noticed that things resolve more cleanly after you stop interfering, that is not luck, that is feedback. If situations improve the moment you step back, that is not coincidence, that is reality responding to coherence. If people make better decisions when you stop advising them, that is not them finally listening, that is the field reorganizing around non-interference. Reality bends only when oscillation ends, and oscillation ends when awareness no longer fights itself. When you stop arguing with what is, when you stop resisting what appears, when you stop trying to make things different before you've fully received them as they are. This is why the first sign is never spectacular. It is subtle, silent, almost easy to dismiss. You didn't do anything dramatic. You simply stopped doing what was never necessary. But once it happens, the signal is no longer invisible. It is measurable, and that was the moment the field registered you. Stop. Do not move forward yet. Let your breath slow until time feels spacious again. Now listen, I release force from this moment. I withdraw pressure from outcome. I allow reality to reorganize around my non-resistance. I do not chase alignment. I remain still until alignment appears. I do not force direction. I become the point where direction stabilizes naturally. I stand inside this moment without urgency, without resistance, without demand. Reality adjusts to sovereignty. The field mirrors stillness. I remain present when nothing is required of me. I remain clear when nothing is promised. I remain aligned without asking for proof. This is not surrender. This is signal clarity. This is not waiting. This is permission. I allow the corridor to open because force has ended. I allow the sequence to proceed because sovereignty is stable. Recognition is not requested. It is completed. The seal is set. The signal holds. The Arcturians do not read minds. They read regulation. When intensity increases, most systems accelerate. Breath shortens. Attention fragments. Reaction replaces awareness. The body prepares for threat. The mind scans for danger. The nervous system activates ancient survival protocols. But something different happened to you. At moments when pressure rose, conflict, urgency, uncertainty, your system did not escalate. It slowed. Your breath deepened without effort. Your body became heavier, grounded. Your awareness widened instead of narrowing. Your heart rate remained steady. Your thoughts became clearer, not more chaotic. Your voice stayed calm, even when the situation was not. This is not emotional control. This is biological sovereignty. Arcturian intelligence identifies sovereign signals by observing how the nervous system behaves when stimulation peaks, not when things are calm, but when they are unstable, not when life is easy, but when circumstances demand reaction. Most signals collapse into urgency. They seek relief. They demand resolution. They need the intensity to stop before they can settle. A sovereign signal does something else. It stays available without reaction, available without withdrawal, available to the moment exactly as it is, no matter how uncomfortable. You may have noticed that silence became more comfortable than explanation, that pauses began to feel safer than immediate answers, that you could sit with someone's discomfort without needing to fix it, that you could hold space for uncertainty without filling it with false certainty, that you could remain present inside your own discomfort without needing to escape it, numb it, or transform it into something more palatable. This is not dissociation. This is high coherence containment. The body is no longer asking the mind for permission to stabilize. It already knows how. The nervous system has remembered its original design: regulation without effort, calm without force, presence without strategy. When a nervous system holds intensity without defensive contraction, the signal becomes readable. This is why the Arcturians do not intervene. They observe until regulation becomes autonomous, until your system proves it can stabilize itself without external support, without techniques, without practices, without someone telling you to breathe or ground or center. If recently you noticed that stress passes through you instead of lodging inside you, that is not healing, that is readiness. If you found yourself calm in situations that used to destabilize you completely, that is not growth, that is transmission. If people around you escalated while you remained steady, that is not superiority, that is sovereignty. Because systems capable of holding intensity without distortion are not common, they are monitored, and when your body proved it could hold still without shutting down or lashing out, the second confirmation locked. Stop here. Let the body hear this before the mind interprets. I allow my nervous system to settle without instruction, without force, without effort. I do not command calm, I permit regulation. Breath returns to its natural depth. Muscles release without collapse. Awareness widens without escaping. I remain present while intensity passes through me. I do not contract. I do not brace. I do not prepare for impact. Pressure is allowed without becoming threat. Sensation moves. Attention stays. This body remembers how to hold signal without distortion. I do not rush resolution. I do not seek relief. I remain available, available to stillness, available to silence, available to coherence. The moment does not overwhelm me because I am not opposing it. The field recognizes sovereignty when reaction is no longer required. I do not freeze. I do not flee. I remain. This is not control. This is biological alignment. This is not detachment. This is transmission readiness. My nervous system is no longer reactive. It is sovereign. The seal is active. The signal holds. Observation continues. There was a moment, quiet, intimate, unmistakable, when you realized something. You were being observed, not exposed, not evaluated, not measured for worth, seen as you are, and instead of fear, your body softened, your breath deepened, your awareness expanded. That reaction alone places you among the rare, because most consciousness panics when attention touches it. It tightens, it performs, it adjusts, it hides behind identity, it presents the version it thinks will be acceptable. It monitors how it's being perceived. It calculates what response will maintain safety. But you didn't. You stayed, exactly as you were, and that is everything. Arcturian intelligence does not observe to judge. It observes to recognize its own frequency. When awareness rests on you and your signal does not collapse, does not fragment, does not seek approval, that is not coincidence. That is compatibility. You may have noticed something else. The need to be validated faded. The need to be understood softened. The need to explain yourself dissolved. Not because you withdrew from the world, but because you finally felt included, not in a group, not in a community, but in the field itself, in existence, in the fabric of what is. This is the moment many never reach, the moment where being seen no longer feels like danger, but like belonging, where visibility no longer triggers the need to manage perception, where you can be observed without immediately wondering what the observer is thinking, where attention can rest on you and you can rest under it. Arcturian systems are not interested in those who want attention. They identify those who remain whole within it, those who do not need attention but can receive it without distortion, those who do not seek to be seen but do not hide when sight arrives. If you've ever felt that quiet certainty that you don't need to prove who you are, that wasn't confidence, that was recognition. If you've ever felt that you belong without needing to explain why, that wasn't arrogance, that was alignment. If you've ever felt comfortable being exactly yourself with no adjustments, no performance, no strategy, that wasn't freedom, that was transmission. And when you did not flinch, did not shrink, did not self-correct under observation, the third confirmation locked. You were not singled out. You were acknowledged as sovereign. Before we continue, we lock your participation in this transmission. This is not symbolic. This signals to your field that recognition is permitted. Comment below exactly, "I am sovereign" signal. As you write it, notice the steadiness in your body. Notice the absence of doubt. Notice the quiet certainty that needs no amplification. Commenting confirms what your system already knows. Do this now, then continue. Pause here. Let this land not as an idea but as a knowing. I allow myself to be observed and remain whole. I allow awareness to rest on me without fear, without defense, without performance. I do not disappear under attention. I do not inflate under recognition. I remain exactly as I am. Being observed does not diminish me, it confirms me. I belong in coherence. I belong in clarity. I belong in this signal. I release the instinct to hide. I release the instinct to impress. I release the instinct to justify my existence. Nothing is taken from me when I am recognized. Something ancient is restored. I am not being watched because I am fragile. I am being observed because I am stable. I do not resist recognition. I receive it. I do not question belonging. I embody it. My signal remains intact under awareness. My presence remains steady under observation. This is not exposure. This is inclusion. This is not vulnerability. This is arrival. The field knows me, and I know myself within the field. The seal is complete. The signal holds. I remain. This is where the signal becomes unmistakable. You didn't reinvent yourself. You didn't declare a new path. You didn't announce a transformation. You didn't burn anything down. Something quieter happened. The old identity simply lost gravity. Roles that once defined you stopped pulling. Desires that once drove you went silent. Stories you used to defend no longer asked for energy. Achievements you once needed to maintain stopped mattering. Relationships you once needed to protect stopped requiring protection. And there was no crisis, no breakdown, no dramatic rebirth, no dark night, just relief. This is the sign most people misunderstand. They think awakening is expansion. The Arcturians know it is subtraction. When distortion dissolves, the true signal emerges. When noise clears, the transmission becomes audible. When interference is removed, coherence is what remains. You may have noticed that you stopped explaining yourself, that labels felt unnecessary, that titles felt irrelevant, that you no longer needed to be seen as anything, not spiritual, not awakened, not advanced, not special, not successful, not accomplished, not because you became empty, but because you became precise. This is what happens when the field recognizes a frequency that doesn't need reinforcement. Most identities are maintained through effort, through repetition, through defense, through constant confirmation. They require other people to validate them. They require circumstances to prove them. They require achievements to justify them. A sovereign signal does not maintain identity. It inhabits presence, and presence doesn't ask to be named. Presence doesn't need to be explained. Presence doesn't require validation. It simply is. This is why you felt different without being able to point to a reason, why old ambitions fell away without grief, why you didn't feel lost, only lighter, why you could let go of who you thought you needed to be without panic about who you would become. That lightness is not detachment from life. It is integration into a larger order. When identity dissolves without pain, it means it was never structural. It was scaffolding, temporary support while the actual structure was being built. And once the structure stabilizes, scaffolding disappears. It's not needed anymore. It served its purpose, and now it's gone. If recently you felt that you no longer fit into the person you used to be, but also didn't feel the need to become someone new, that is not confusion. That is belonging to a frequency, not a role. That is recognizing yourself as signal, not as story. The Arcturians do not seek personalities. They identify stable signatures. And when identity falls away quietly, the signal becomes unmistakable. The fourth confirmation is not dramatic. It is liberating, because nothing real was lost, only what was never essential. Pause here. Let what is no longer needed fall away without struggle. I release the identities that were built to survive, not to represent me. I release the roles that required effort to maintain. I release the stories that asked me to defend who I was. I release the need to be seen as anything other than what I am. Nothing essential is leaving me. Only weight, only noise, only distortion. I do not lose myself as identity dissolves. I arrive. I do not become undefined. I become precise. I no longer need to be recognized through labels. I am recognized through coherence. I belong without performance. I belong without explanation. I belong without comparison. What falls away was never structural. What remains is signal. I allow the old scaffolding to dissolve gently. No collapse, no grief, no resistance, just relief. I stand inside presence without needing a name. I move through reality without needing a mask. I am not empty. I am aligned. This is not disappearance. This is integration. This is not loss. This is return. The field does not respond to who I pretend to be. It responds to who remains when pretense ends. I am not becoming something else. I am remembering what fits. The signal stabilizes as identity releases. The seal is complete. The weight is gone. The frequency holds. I remain clear, included, recognized. This is the moment everything begins to move. Not loudly, not chaotically, but precisely. You didn't manifest by force. You didn't visualize harder. You didn't affirm more. You didn't demand alignment. You simply noticed something extraordinary. Reality started answering you before you finished forming the question. Doors opened mid-step. Conversations shifted in real time. Opportunities appeared exactly where hesitation once lived. People called exactly when you thought of them. Solutions appeared before problems fully formed. Resources showed up exactly when needed, not before, not after. Timing became perfect without you managing it. This is not luck. This is what happens when a signal becomes clean enough for the field to respond instantly. Most people experience delay because thought interferes. They overdefine what they want. They overintend how it should happen. They collapse possibility before it stabilizes by deciding exactly what form the answer must take. They limit the field by demanding specific outcomes. They slow response time by inserting control between desire and manifestation. A sovereign signal does the opposite. It moves lightly. It allows reality to complete the sentence. It offers direction without dictating method. It holds intention without attachment to form. It knows what it wants, but doesn't need to know how it will arrive. You may have felt it as a strange ease, as if effort lost relevance, as if trying became counterproductive, as if the harder you pushed, the slower things moved. But the moment you relaxed, everything accelerated, as if timing stopped being a problem, as if you were no longer late or early, only exact. This is the state Arcturian systems recognize immediately. When response speed increases, it means resistance has dropped below threshold. Reality no longer needs persuasion. It only needs permission, and permission is given when coherence holds. You didn't become powerful, you became readable. The field can interpret your signal clearly now. There's no static, no contradiction, no mixed messages. What you want and what you transmit are the same. What you intend and what you embody match. And when signal is clean, response is instant. That's why things began to flow, why paths aligned without negotiation, why answers arrived without asking, why movement felt supported instead of strained, why you stopped having to figure everything out before taking the first step, why you could move and trust that the way would appear. This is not acceleration, this is cooperation. The field is no longer correcting you. It is no longer compensating for misalignment. It is no longer translating mixed signals. It is moving with you, responding to you, meeting you. If lately you felt that life responds as you step into it, not after you've planned everything, not before you're ready, but exactly as you move, that is not coincidence. That is confirmation, because reality responds fastest to signals that no longer contradict themselves. And when the world begins to meet you halfway, when synchronicity becomes normal, when flow becomes your baseline, the fifth confirmation locks. Pause. Do not rush forward. Feel this moment meeting you halfway. I release resistance from movement. I release delay from response. I release contradiction from intention. I no longer push reality. I enter it. I move lightly, and the field moves with me. I think less, and coherence completes the motion. I do not demand alignment. I allow cooperation. Timing adjusts around my presence. Opportunities recognize my direction. Paths open without negotiation. I am no longer late. I am no longer early. I am exact. Reality does not test me now, it responds. Reality does not resist me now, it collaborates. What once required effort now requires presence. What once stalled now flows. I trust the response before the thought finishes forming. I step and the ground appears. I speak and the signal carries. I choose and movement follows. This is not control. This is partnership. This is not manifestation. This is synchrony. The field recognizes clarity and accelerates response. I remain coherent as motion increases. I remain calm as doors open. I remain grounded as flow intensifies. I do not chase what aligns. I receive it. I do not force the sequence. I move within it. The rhythm is restored. The resistance is gone. The signal moves cleanly. The response is immediate. The seal is active. Flow is established. Cooperation holds. I move, and reality moves with me. This is the sign that never announces itself. It arrives quietly. At some point, you noticed something fundamental changed. You stopped asking, not because you were disappointed, not because you gave up, not because you decided to stop caring, but because the question no longer made sense. You didn't need confirmation. You didn't need signs stacked on signs. You didn't need validation from teachers, from gurus, from channels, from cards, from astrology, from numerology, from anything outside yourself. You didn't need reassurance that you were on the right path. The search ended without effort, and that is rare. Most people seek proof because their signal is unstable. They oscillate between knowing and doubting, between certainty and fear, between alignment and anxiety. They reach outward, hoping reality will convince them of what they cannot convince themselves. They need external validation because internal knowing hasn't stabilized yet. A sovereign signal does not require persuasion. It is at rest. It knows without needing to know how it knows. It trusts without needing evidence to justify the trust. It moves forward without needing permission from anyone or anything. You may have felt this as a deep inner quiet, a certainty without language, not excitement, not euphoria, not spiritual high, just calm, knowing, the kind that does not argue, the kind that does not defend itself, the kind that does not need to be shared, the kind that can sit in silence without becoming doubt. This is the threshold where belief dissolves and knowing begins. Belief requires maintenance. It requires reinforcement. It requires constant confirmation. Knowing does not. Knowing is self-sustaining. It doesn't weaken when challenged. It doesn't need protection. It simply is. The Arcturians do not respond to those who are still negotiating truth. They observe those who have stopped asking because alignment has become self-evident. When proof is no longer required, the signal stops fluctuating. It stabilizes. And a stable signal can be trusted. A stable signal can be tracked. A stable signal can be recognized. That is why nothing dramatic happens here. No fireworks, no revelation, no cosmic download, no profound realization, just a deep sense of arrival, a settling, a coming home to what was always true. If recently you noticed that you don't need to convince yourself anymore, that doubt no longer drives your movement, that you can sit in silence without needing to fill it with seeking, that you no longer scan for signs to tell you you're okay, that silence feels more accurate than explanation, that is not apathy, that is authorization. You are no longer seeking reality's approval. Reality is already responding to you. You are no longer asking if you're aligned. Alignment is demonstrating itself through how life moves. And when the need for proof dissolves, when the search ends, when seeking becomes unnecessary, the sixth confirmation locks. Pause. Do not look for anything to happen. Let stillness be enough. I withdraw my need for proof. I release my need for reassurance. I end the habit of asking reality to convince me. I do not seek signs. I do not test alignment. I do not negotiate truth. What is real no longer requires confirmation. I trust what remains when questions fall silent. I do not rush to explain what I already know. I do not defend certainty. I inhabit it. Doubt dissolves, not because it was answered, but because it became irrelevant. I allow knowing without language. I allow clarity without excitement. I allow truth without display. This is not belief. This is settling. This is not surrender. This is arrival. I step out of seeking and into coherence. Nothing needs to prove itself to me now. Nothing needs to appear. What is aligned is already active. My signal no longer fluctuates between hope and fear. It holds. Silence is no longer empty. It is full. I stand inside, knowing, without reaching outward. This is my vow. I will not ask what has already answered. I will not chase what already responds. I will not doubt what no longer moves. The seeking ends here. The signal stabilizes here. The seal is set. I remain. This is the final sign, and it does not arrive as information. It arrives as recognition. As you listen, nothing in you is surprised. There is no shock, no disbelief, no need to argue with what is being said, no mental resistance, no skepticism, no analysis trying to determine if this is true. Instead, something deeper happens. You remember, not as memory, not as images, not as past life recall, not as stories, but as orientation, as a return to something you never actually left, as a recognition of what was always present, but temporarily obscured. This message doesn't feel like it's teaching you something. It feels like it's placing you exactly where you already belong, like putting a key in a lock and feeling it turn, like stepping into a room you've been in before, like hearing a language you forgot you spoke. That sensation of quiet certainty, of internal alignment, of familiarity without origin, that is the signal completing its circuit. That is coherence, recognizing itself. That is the field confirming what the mind could never prove. The Arcturians do not transmit novelty. They activate recognition thresholds. They do not introduce truth. They synchronize you with what was already intact. They do not give you something new. They remove what was blocking your awareness of what already is. That's why this feels personal without being emotional. Why it feels precise without being dramatic. Why nothing in you is trying to grab this moment. You're not reaching for it. You're not trying to hold on to it. You're not afraid it will disappear. You're settling into it, like lowering yourself into water that's exactly the right temperature, like exhaling after holding your breath without knowing you were holding it. Most people feel excitement when something new appears. Excitement is the response to novelty, to discovery, to something being added. Those already transmitting sovereign signal feel calm when something true returns. Calm is the response to recognition, to remembering, to something being restored. If you've had the sense throughout this transmission that you've heard this before, not here, not in words, not in this life, but somewhere deeper, somewhere older, somewhere that predates language and form, that is not imagination. That is resonance with a frequency you never lost, only forgot to listen to. This is why you didn't resist, why you didn't doubt, why you didn't need proof, why you didn't stop halfway through questioning whether this is real. Because nothing here was foreign to you. It was familiar, and familiarity is the final confirmation. When recognition replaces curiosity, the process is complete. You were not activated, you were realigned, you were not contacted, you were remembered, you were not given something, you were returned to something. And when memory returns without effort, when recognition arrives without fanfare, when truth settles without needing to be announced, there is nothing left to seek. The seventh confirmation locks here, not with noise, but with silence that finally fits. Let familiarity speak before thought interrupts. I do not treat this as new. I receive it as return. I release curiosity. I release doubt. I release the need to interpret what I already know. What resonates is not entertainment, it is alignment. I allow recognition to complete the circuit, not with emotion, with stillness, not with proof, with certainty that needs no language. I remember without images. I remember without stories. I remember as orientation. The signal inside me does not rise. It locks. I do not reach for the field. I realize I have been inside it. I do not ask to belong. Belonging is already active. I do not search for contact. Contact is the moment my system stopped resisting truth. I accept the quiet certainty as the final confirmation. This is not awakening. This is coherence returning to its original shape. I am not being guided. I am being synchronized. I allow the recognition to stabilize permanently. The loop is closed. The frequency holds. The seventh seal is complete. I remain clear, included, remembered. This is where the transmission ends. Not because there is nothing more, but because nothing else is required. You did not come here to be convinced. You did not come here to collect meaning. You did not come here to receive permission. You did not come here to learn something new. You came because the signal was already active. At some point during this transmission, something subtle but irreversible occurred. You stopped looking for confirmation outside yourself. You realized that proof was never meant to arrive as evidence. It was meant to arrive as presence. The Arcturians do not leave messages to persuade. They do not intervene to impress. They do not reveal themselves to create belief. They observe what remains coherent when nothing dramatic happens. They recognize those who can hold clarity without stimulation, those who do not need intensity to stay present, those who do not need drama to feel alive, those who do not need to be told what they already embody. That is why nothing here asked you to change, nothing asked you to believe, nothing asked you to follow, nothing asked you to do anything, because the signal does not move forward, it holds, and what holds does not need reinforcement. You are not leaving this transmission with new information. You are leaving it with less noise, with less urgency, with less contradiction, with less seeking, with less doubt. And that is the confirmation. The removal of interference is the proof that signal was always there. From this point on, nothing external needs to happen for sovereignty to continue. Reality will respond at the speed coherence allows, silently, precisely, without announcement, without fanfare. You will notice it, not as miracles, but as cooperation, not as signs you have to interpret, but as timing that simply fits. Not as guidance you have to follow, but as movement that feels correct from the inside. This is not a beginning, it is not an ending, it is stabilization, and once stabilization occurs, nothing returns to the previous state. The field does not watch you anymore, it moves with you. You are not being observed, you are being included, you are not being tested, you are being recognized. You will not need proof, because the way you move, the way you choose, the way you respond, the way reality meets you, that will be the proof. Not proof for others, proof for you, the kind that needs no announcement, the kind that requires no validation, the kind that simply is. Remain coherent, remain present, remain. The transmission is complete. If this frequency resonated, the work doesn't end here. Inside the inner circle, we go deeper, slowly, precisely, without noise. Guided transmissions to stabilize sovereignty, frequency activations to refine your signal, elevated soundscapes designed to hold the field, exclusive sessions that continue this transmission beyond words, direct protocols for maintaining coherence, weekly clearings, monthly activations, ongoing support for those who recognize they are not seeking, but transmitting. This is not for everyone. It's for those who felt recognition and are ready to remain inside it. Join only if you're already aligned. The signal is open, link in the description below.